You know that moment. You're walking with the stroller, expecting at least a little fussing, a few sounds, maybe a random cry because the sun shifted or the ride stopped for 5 seconds. But instead, your baby goes strangely quiet. Not asleep, not upset, just still. Their eyes move across the trees, the sky, the passing cars, the shadows on the sidewalk. And for a second, it almost feels like they've gone somewhere you can't follow. A lot of parents feel two things at the same time: relief and confusion. Relief because the silence feels easier than crying. Confusion because it also feels mysterious. What is happening in that little mind during those quiet stroller rides? Are they zoning out, getting sleepy, feeling disconnected? Or is something much more interesting going on? Because here's the part most people miss. When babies go quiet like this, it is not always emptiness. Sometimes it is concentration. Sometimes it is regulation. Sometimes it is your baby taking in the world in the only way they can right now, through movement, light, rhythm, distance, and tiny shifting patterns that adults barely notice anymore. Research on infant behavioral states and early attention shows that a calm, quiet baby may still be actively processing, learning, and communicating through state and gaze, not words. And once you see that, quiet stroller rides stop looking like nothing and start looking like a hidden part of baby psychology. But that is only the beginning.
Most parents are given a very simple explanation for this behavior. Your baby is quiet because the stroller is soothing, or because they're bored, or because the motion is making them sleepy. And yes, sometimes that is true, but that explanation is incomplete. Babies do not only communicate when they cry, kick, or protest. Before they have words, they communicate through body state, gaze, tension, posture, and shifts in attention. A baby becoming quiet can be a message. It can mean, I'm settled enough to observe. It can mean, I'm trying to make sense of all this. It can even mean, I need less social pressure right now, so I can process what's around me. The Royal Children's Hospital describes a quiet alert state as awake, calm, with little movement and bright eyes, a state that is especially good for learning and interaction. The Brazelton Newborn Behavioral Observation System also treats baby behavior as a window into mental state, not random noise. And this is where most parents get confused. We tend to assume engagement has to look active, smiling, cooing, reaching, waving arms. But babies often engage by becoming still. Healthy Children from the American Academy of Pediatrics notes that even looking away can be a baby's way of controlling stimulation and protecting themselves from feeling overwhelmed. So when your baby goes quiet in a stroller, that silence may not mean they have checked out. It may mean they are carefully managing how much of the world they let in at once. That changes the whole emotional meaning of the moment. And the science behind it gets even more interesting. What researchers noticed next was even more interesting. Infant attention is not just a cute little side feature of development. It is one of the main ways babies build knowledge. Modern research on infant visual attention shows that across the first year, babies are constantly learning how to orient toward what matters, disengage from what no longer matters, and shift their focus based on novelty, movement, contrast, and meaning. In plain English, babies are not just seeing the world, they are sorting it. Now think about a stroller ride from your baby's point of view. The view keeps changing. Light flickers through leaves, a dog passes, then a red sign, then shadow, then a face leaning over for 1 second, then open sky. It is a moving stream of patterns, motion, distance, and surprise. For an adult, this is background. For a baby, this is data. And babies often process that data by becoming quieter, not louder. Research using infant looking time shows that when babies stare at something, they may be comparing what they're seeing now with what they've already seen before. As a stimulus becomes familiar, looking time often drops. When something new appears, attention rises again. This is called habituation, and it is one of the classic ways researchers study learning in infancy. So during a stroller ride, your baby may be doing something surprisingly sophisticated, taking in the environment, building tiny expectations, noticing what repeats, and reacting when the pattern changes. That is why some stroller rides feel almost trance-like. Your baby may look peaceful, but their brain is busy. They are not doing nothing. They may be practicing one of the earliest forms of thinking: attention, comparison, memory, and sensory organization, all without a single word. But the deepest part of this behavior is still ahead.
Because stroller quietness is not only about the eyes, it is also about the body. Movement matters enormously to babies. Gentle, rhythmic motion gives the nervous system information through the vestibular system, the system involved in balance, motion, and orientation. Research in infants, including preterm infants, shows that controlled vestibular stimulation can influence physiological regulation, including breathing patterns, and may support calmer, more organized states, although the findings need to be interpreted carefully and not exaggerated. The point is not that stroller rides are some magical brain hack. The point is that motion can help organize the body, and when the body feels more organized, the mind often has more room to attend outward. In other words, part of what your baby may be doing during a quiet stroller ride is regulating. The rhythm of the wheels, the predictable forward movement, the contained body position, the soft hum of the outside world. These can all reduce chaos for some babies. Not every baby, not every time, but often enough that parents recognize the pattern. A baby who was fussy indoors may settle outside not because they were being dramatic, but because the sensory mix changed. Their body found a more manageable rhythm. But there is another twist. A stroller is also a very specific social setup. Research comparing strollers with backpacks found that older infants in backpacks had more parent speech, more infant vocalizations, more back and forth interaction, and more visual scanning. That does not mean strollers are bad. It means stroller quietness may partly happen because the experience is less socially intense and more observational. Your baby may not be performing for you at that moment. They may be studying the world from a small moving seat with less direct interaction and more room for silent watching. And that changes how we understand what babies are really doing. Sometimes they are soothed, sometimes they are observing, sometimes they are regulating, sometimes they are doing all three at once. So how do you tell when it is a good quiet and when it is a baby who needs something different? This is where your observation becomes powerful. If your baby is on a quiet stroller ride with a relaxed face, steady breathing, smooth arm and leg movements, bright or calmly focused eyes, and an overall soft body, that usually looks more like organized attention than distress. The Royal Children's Hospital describes these kinds of signals as engagement or coping cues. They suggest your baby is handling the experience well. In that state, you do not always need to interrupt. You do not have to fill every second with stimulation. Sometimes the most helpful thing is simply staying nearby, staying calm, and letting your baby look. But if the quiet comes with a tense body, back arching, jerky movements, color changes, fussing that builds, hard turning away, finger splaying, or a glazed, overloaded look, that is different. That may be a disengagement cue. That may mean the stroller ride has become too much, too long, too bright, too noisy, too hungry, too close to napping, or just wrong for that moment. And this is where most parents get confused again. They assume a baby must cry loudly to be struggling. Not always. Some babies signal discomfort more subtly first. So what does this mean in real life? It means stroller time works best when it is responsive, not automatic. Talk softly sometimes, but not constantly. Let there be pauses. Watch what happens when the environment changes. Notice whether your baby settles with movement or starts to tighten. And remember one important caution. The American Academy of Pediatrics advises limiting time in devices that restrict movement, including strollers, because babies also need daily active floor-based time and freedom to move. So stroller rides can be useful, calming, and meaningful,
but they are one part of your baby's day, not the whole thing. And once you hold all of that together, the whole picture becomes much more beautiful.
What babies are really doing during quiet stroller rides is often far more profound than it looks. They may be calming their body with rhythm. They may be protecting themselves from too much stimulation by becoming still. They may be tracking light, shape, motion, and distance. They may be building memory through repeated looking. They may be entering that quiet alert state where the world feels watchable, manageable, and just interesting enough. And all of that can happen while they say absolutely nothing. So, if you have ever looked down at your baby in the stroller and wondered why they suddenly seemed so serious, so silent, so far away, maybe the truth is gentler than that. Maybe they were not withdrawing from the world. Maybe they were meeting it in the most baby way possible, through wonder, regulation, and observation. That is the reframe. Quiet does not always mean disconnected. Sometimes quiet is your baby doing deep, invisible work. And maybe that is why these little moments can feel so strangely moving to parents. Because without words, without explanation, you are watching a human being slowly learn how to exist in a very big world. If this made you see your baby a little differently, and if you've noticed your baby becoming unusually calm on stroller rides, or suddenly resist them after loving them before, you're not imagining it. There is psychology in that too. And the next hidden clue might be in one of the smallest signals of all: what it means when your baby turns away just when you thought they were paying attention.